Hello, Year 9. Today we're going to carry on looking at our equations. I hope you've been doing well in this topic. Some of you have been doing a very good job at sharing your work, others less so. Really important that you share your work because I don't know how far to take a topic if you are not giving me that feedback. So today we're going to be looking at equations with unknowns on both sides and brackets. This is about as difficult as it is going to get with our equations. But before we get started, let's have a quick look at this diagram. Are the four vertical lines parallel or not? And just a reminder, parallel lines are lines that never cross and are the same distance apart, just like train tracks. So although we've got all these diagonal lines, are the vertical lines all parallel? What do you think? Well, this is an example of an optical illusion, where you look at something and your brain is trying to decode what it sees. And if, like my brain, you keep looking at it and it looks like the lines kind of move and they don't look parallel to each other. However, if I just cover up those diagonally slanting lines with some rectangles, we can see that the vertical lines definitely are parallel. So a great example there of an optical illusion. So as I said, today we are going to look at equations. Again, this is our 10th lesson and we are going to try and solve an equation with brackets and unknowns on both sides. So we are putting together the skills from the last couple of lessons to just enhance our equations a little bit further. If you've managed to print out today's sheet, that is great. There is very little writing today in terms of what I've put on my pre-created sheet. If you have not managed to print that out, then I would expect you to be writing the title, Equations 10, the objective, solve an equation with brackets and unknowns on both sides, and today's date in your book. Can you please pay attention to the layout of how we are doing these equations? How we are communicating that. Reason being, when you are doing your own questions, your own work, it should look like this. I'm seeing work where I'm struggling to follow people's explanation because you are not setting it out in the correct way. So let's take a look at a few examples. I've said to solve today's equations, always expand any brackets first. We are going to see there's questions where there are brackets on both sides of the equation. And then the next step is to eliminate the variable from one side. And what I mean by that is once we have expanded the brackets, the questions are almost identical to what we've been doing in the last two lessons. So let's take a look. I have 5 bracket x plus 2 and 3 bracket x plus 6. So remember please, when you are expanding a bracket, we are doing some multiplying. So this first bracket is 5x, 5 times x, plus 5 times 2, which is 10. Similarly, the second bracket, 3 times x, 3x, 3 times 6, plus 18. Now, I hope you look at this equation and you think, I know what to do now. I've got 5x's on one side, I've got 3x's on the other side. I need to subtract the smaller number of x's. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides of my equation. When I subtract 3x's from this side, I am left with 2x's and the plus 10. Remember, subtracting 3x's from this side gets rid of those 3x's. So we are left with 18. 2x plus 10 equals 18. What is next? Well, I need to subtract, do the inverse of plus 10. So I subtract 10 from both sides. When I subtract 10 from both sides, I end up with 2x's left, and 18 take away 10 leaves 8. My final step is to divide by 2. I have 2x's. I want to know what one of them is worth. So dividing by 2 allows me to do that, and x equals 4. So look at the use of the two different coloured pens and try to emulate this. Now, just as before, I can check my answer by doing a substitution. If x is 4, this bracket is 4 plus 2, which is 6. And a number in front of a bracket means multiply. So this side of my equation is 5 times 6. And 5 times 6 is 30. If I do the same with the other side of the equation, if x is 4, let's do the bracket. 4 plus 6 is 10. And I'm timesing by 3. And 3 times 10 is 30. So I have shown both sides of my equation equal 30. So I've checked my answer is correct. X equals 4. Let's look at 2 more examples. So remember, the first step is multiply out the bracket. So we have 6x, 6 times x. This time it's 6 times -1, so that is -6, equals 2 times x, 2x, 2 times 7, plus 14. Let's now read it. 6x take away 6 equals 2x plus 14. I've got 6x's here. I've got 2x's here. So, which is the bigger number? 6x. I'm going to subtract 2x's from both sides. So I'm going to communicate that with my different colour. Take away 2x's. So when I subtract 2x from this side, I am left with 4x's and the take away 6. When I subtract the 2x's from this side, I just have 14 left. I've got 4x take away 6 is 14. What inverse do I need? I need the inverse of take away 6, which is add 6. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That will leave me my 4x's. The add 6 will cancel the take away 6. And if I add 6 to this side, it is 20. So I know that 4x's equals 20. To work out what x is, I need to divide by 4. And dividing by 4, 20 divided by 4 means that x equals 5. And remember, you could check that answer again by substituting in. Next example, let's multiply out the bracket. 8 times x, 8x, 8 times 4, plus 32. Times in by 10, 10 times x, 10x, 10 times 3, plus 30. I have 8x's and 10x's. So I'm going to subtract 8x's from both sides of my equation. Which means those 8x's go, and I'm left with 32. 10x take away 8x's leaves me 2x's, and I have plus 30. So I need to try and get the 2x by itself. So I'm going to do the inverse of plus 30, which is subtract 30 from both sides. When I've subtracted 30 from both sides, remember that will get rid of the plus 30. I will just have 2x's here, and 30 off this side leaves me 2. So if 2x's is 2, I can work out x by dividing by 2. There's a couple of ways you could write this. You could divide by 2 and say 1 equals x. If you don't like seeing it that way around, you could always, at this point, swap it round to read x equals. So in this question, x equals 1. Let's take a look at one final example. So, multiplying out this bracket, we can see we have 3 times 2x. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. So this one is 6x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Equals 4 times x, 4x. And 4 times 2 is 8. Can you see what we need to do next? I've got 6x's on one side and 4x's on the other. I need to subtract 4x's. So I'm going to knock 4x's off both sides. If I do that, 6x take away 4x's would be 2x, and I still have to take away 9, and the 4x's go here, and I'm left with just 8. Now we've got 2x take away 9 equals 8. I need to do the inverse of take away 9, which is add 9. When I add 9 to both sides, remember that will get rid of the take away 9, and I will just have 2x's left and 17. So my final step, if I have 2x's, is to work out what x is by dividing by 2. But look what happens here. 17 doesn't divide by 2 exactly, so this one is going to be a decimal or a fraction. 17 divided by 2, well 16 divided by 2 is 8. This one is 8.5 or 8.5. So reminder again, look at the layout. This is how it should appear in your book today, please. No final answers, all the steps written down, communicated with a different colour. I'm only asking you to do 6 of these. Why? Because they are long and they are tough. And what I would suggest you do today, perhaps not wait until having done all 6 to check your answers. Perhaps check your answers as you are going along. Okay? So don't wait till the 6th answer. Make sure that you've got the right idea. And as always, if you have any questions, you may ask in the Ask the Teacher channel.